everyone. Welcome to Your Enneagram Coach, the podcast. I'm Beth McCord, your Enneagram Coach. And we are right in the middle of our series on talking with Enneagram moms. Now, for you parents out there, moms, do you ever just feel alone in your journey being a parent, being a mom? You just wish there was others that understood you or who could talk to you authentically about where you're at. Yes, totally understand. Well, in my new book, Enneagram for Moms, it's going to be released on July 9th, and it's going to really help parents, in particular moms, to understand why they think, feel, and behave in particular ways and how to be their best and most healthiest self, because parenting's hard. So we don't want you to journey alone. So pre-order your book right now, and you can do that at enneagramformoms.com. And when you do, there are some pre-order bonuses that you can get that I've set aside just for you all. So make sure that you grab your book today at enneagramformoms.com. And today, you get to hear from Type 4 moms. We're going to have 3 Type 4 moms here with us, and they're going to talk to us about what it's like to journey through motherhood as an Enneagram 4 and how the Enneagram has helped them to understand themselves better. Also, how to navigate those tough moments when we're not doing as well into healthier moments in being our best and healthiest self. So I can't wait for us to dive in and to hear from 3 Enneagram Type 4 moms. So without further ado, let me have them introduce themselves. Hey guys, it's so great to have you 3 Type 4 moms on the podcast. I'd love for you guys just to introduce yourselves so everyone can get to know you, and then we'll talk about the highs and the lows of being a Type 4 mom. So, Andy, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm Andy Richards. I'm a certified coach and in the process of certifying to be an Enneagram coach. But I help women come home to themselves. And it was kind of birthed out of being at home with my kids for many, many years and finally learning that nothing was wrong with me and that there was a place that I could belong. And so I help walk women through that now. But I have 2 daughters. They'll be 12 and 14 next month. So 2 middle schoolers, one going into high school. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like Jeff and I talk about parenting as a hurricane. You've got the front end, which is like, the early years, toddler years. Then you got the eye of the storm. It's kind of like, the elementary school years, and they can do their own, like they can tie their shoes and do all the things. And they still like, oh, you're parents, so I have to like respect you and I still want to cuddle. And then the back of the storm comes. And that's like tween years and teenage years. Hopefully
Mhm.
not as bad. But so you're kind of getting into that back wall in. So hopefully it will be not as, turbulent as it can be. Okay, so Elizabeth, what about you? Tell us all about you.
Yeah, so my name is Elizabeth Bennett. I'm a 4-wing 5, mostly dominant social subtype. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, have been all my life. I really, really love it here. And I have been working with Enneagram for about 5 years now. I have Enneagram Life, which is my Instagram page, as well as Fourish, and I Know It is my other Instagram page, is just for fours. And I also am a writer, so I wrote a series of Enneagram devotionals, a one-off Enneagram book that's called Enneagram Life, and then I'm currently working on another series of 9. So I've been very involved with Enneagram for several years. I think the last time I counted, I've done over 400 coaching sessions. I really love, those aha moments when people are finding their type. But in the midst of all of that, I've also become a mom. So I started my Instagram account when my son was 6 months old, and he is now 6 years old. And then I
Oh,
also have a
wow.
4-year-old daughter. So yeah, I'm still very much in that eye of the storm beginning
Yeah.
parenting of a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Oh, wow, that's so great. Yeah, and you've been on a couple of our podcasts, before, so people can always look up
Yeah, I have.
those and hear our conversations as well. All right, Andrea, what about you?
Hello, I'm Andrea Liedmeyer, and I'm a mom of 4, and 2 of those are married, so I have 2 in-law children, and 3 grandchildren that we've met, and 2 that we will meet this summer when they arrive. So,
Aw.
almost 5 grandkids, and, I'm obviously type 4 and pretty strong 5 wing.
Mhm.
and got introduced to the Enneagram probably 2-ish years ago. And it kind of was the big aha was, wow, missing piece. This explains personality tests weren't enough. Now I know that's because that was behavior and not motivation. So that for me was, wow, this is a big deal. This is life changing. This has spun my head, and yes, has made a big difference in my marriage and for sure in my parenting. The way that I relate,
Mhm.
sort of the next chapter is after your children leave the home. That's a tricky road of, I'm still your parent. You're the child, except you're not a child, but I'm still a parent. And how are we
Yeah.
equals, except we're not the same? And that has really been helpful for me to understand
Mm.
the insides of them, and especially with the in-laws, because you don't have that history with them. So
Yeah.
it's been really helpful for me to tread more intentionally, I think, in building relationship with in-laws who are now part of your family, but you haven't known for their lives.
Yeah,
So,
okay, let's start there because
okay.
that's so intriguing. So my daughter is married and she has a 10-week-old, and so we're kind of, navigating that, and our son she's 23, my son is 26, and so I know that, like, empty nest thing, and yeah, like, we're still parents.
Mhm,
That doesn't stop. In fact, it kinda gets harder in some ways
mhm.
because little kids, little problems, big kids,
Yeah,
big problems. I mean,
mhm. Except they're adults, and
yeah,
so
and then so
there's
yeah, you can, like, maybe advise them if they're wanting
yes.
that.
There's a
Um,
line, but it's invisible.
yeah, and yeah, you're like, "Well, if I advise, are they gonna take that wrong? Are they gonna feel
Mhm.
supported?" I mean, it's a whole thing. So,
Yep.
understanding our adult kids' types is so beneficial
Mhm.
because I can better know what it is that they need and what they definitely don't need from
Yep.
me.
Mhm.
Um So tell me about, you and being a type 4 mom, now having grown children. What has been beneficial learning about being a type 4, but then also knowing, and maybe let's just even start with your in-laws, your son-in-laws, is that right? They're
I have a son and a daughter-in-law.
okay.
Yes.
And what it's been like to use the Enneagram there. And then I wanna bounce over to Andy and Elizabeth, and let's talk more about using it at preteen years and the little kid years. So, Andrea, tell me a little bit about what it's been like to
Mhm.
get to know your 4 and then to navigate these kinda new issues.
Well, one thing very, very big for me is, and I hate this, but don't take everything personally.
Mm,
And so especially with in-laws, because, your kids can say something sarcastic or make a joke and it's rude, but it's not rude because it's funny.
right.
But you would talk to your own kids, but you wouldn't talk to your in-law kids in the same way because then it really would be rude.
Yeah.
So, it's the not take things personally as I was getting to know each of them. Who is this
Mhm.
person? What matters? What do they mean when they express like this? Or why do they not want to do that? Um, and of course, the overthinking that I would do.
And just real quick, what are their types?
I have a son in law 1 and a daughter in law 7.
Okay, wow, very different.
Yes. Yes.
And
Very,
very
very,
different from you too. Yeah.
yes, very different. So, really helpful in being intentional. We live far apart. And so when we
Mhm.
get together, that's also tricky because it's a visit. We don't get to like share life and move in and out for small periods. It's intense because we're in each other's
Mhm.
home for 24 hours for a 5-day or 7-day period or something. So that's tricky to navigate too, because at the beginning, we were kind of strangers. Um,
Yeah.
so just understanding that and then being intentional on the way that I conduct myself and the way that I say things. And 2 concrete examples. Everybody was home for Christmas, and my 7 daughter-in-law, goodness, textbook. Um, Wonderful, vibrant, fun, energetic, ideas popping all over the place, total fear of boredom. And I
Mhm.
had this, what turned out to be a genius idea, to make an itinerary before they came. Made it on Canvas, so it's really super cute and, themed, of course, and posted it on the kitchen door. And it had every single day what the activities were going to be and at what time, and then what alternatives there would be. And
Oh, okay.
she went and stood in front of that door multiple times a day, like clapping her hands because it's just gonna be such a fun day, and look at all the things we have fun to
Oh,
look forward to, and look what's happening tomorrow, and it was the best visit we've ever had. It was
I
awesome,
love that.
and so
Well,
it
and
really
also,
set
like,
me.
as you were saying that, my first thought was like, "Okay, that could either be a really good idea or not a good idea," but
Yeah.
once you said there's alternatives, I was like, "Oh, you nailed it. You nailed it."
Yeah, it was great. And then the same visit, I said something that came out not well to my son-in-law, and he was very hurt. And he
Aw.
doesn't ever he's you can't offend him. He's just awesome. He's flexible and whatever, but when I thought about the way it landed for him,
Mm.
being a 1,
Yeah.
it was, of course, not at all what I meant, but I was able to understand this is how you heard it,
Mm.
and that was I mean, it was like, "You're failing at loving my daughter well."
Oh, right.
Which
Uh-huh.
was not even remotely in my head, so I was
Yeah.
blindsided that he was clearly upset, and I said,
Yeah.
"Could we please go downstairs and talk because we need to." And then I got it and I said, "I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I understand that that's a thing you already battle with. Am I getting it right?
yeah.
And now you feel like I just called you out to make sure you knew you weren't, and that's not at all." And then he was wonderful and gracious and said, "I get it. You didn't mean that at all. That is exactly how it landed." And then we had this beautiful healing, and it was over, and it was gone, and it was fine,
Yeah,
but
and usually stuff like that, it just escalates like, "Well, I didn't mean this," like, or, "Why would you think I would say that?" And, like, for you, to take that stance of like, "Oh, I can see how that landed on you. No, that wasn't my intent, but man, I'm sorry that that hit you so hard." I mean, that is beautiful, and just the ability to repair and
yes,
reconcile right there, that's amazing.
yeah,
Wow. Well, thanks for
so
sharing that. All right, Andy, so you're in the tweens, teenage years. What's it been like to be a type 4 mom, the highs and the lows, and especially now in this season of life? Because you had said earlier, like you kind of felt like there was something wrong, but then you kind of found out, oh, wait, there's something wrong. I'm a type 4,
Yeah.
and this is like all the types feel like there's something wrong with them in their own way. But so, how did you navigate through that and learn?
Yeah, I think as a younger mother, I was always figuring out what I was missing. I was determined to kind of rewrite the how parenting would go for my children. Being a young mom, and there always seemed to be something that was missing, and so that really resonated with me when I started digging into my Enneagram, and I knew that that was just it. I started learning that that was an intuitive part of me to just search.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of release. At the same time, it was like, "Oh, I make a lot of strength now. No wonder I'm looking for the next thing, this and that." And so I homeschool my kids, and I have them at home for 7 years now. And it's been the hardest, most wonderful, richest journey, um, to have them at home. And they're a little older now, so they spend a lot of time during duty classes and that stuff. But I think having them at home was just like, we toughed it all out. We figured so much out. We were together 24/7. My husband's a fireman, so long stretches of days, just me and my kids. Um, and for me, I think it was being able to go through the ebbs and flows of my feeling towards being together all the time and not getting a break, and learning now as a mom, I felt, oh, no wonder I withdrew. I have that. That's just a natural tendency for me when things are too much. Being with your kids all the time, it's like,
Yeah,
and
for anyone.
yes, for anyone. And I didn't really have that model or experience that you could take breaks so that you could ask for help. And so for me, I wore so much. I took so much on wanting to do such a great job, and then wondering why I was falling short and feeling things so deeply. And it felt
Mhm.
like I was feeling them deeper, and it took them harder than most moms around me. It just looked like everybody else was
Mhm.
kind of like figuring it out and kind of resilient. And I was here in preschool, like, oh, why does this feel so hard? It's so sad. And so there was a lot of shame working
Mm.
through the pain. And so as I begin to understand that this is how I'm wired, I'm a highly sensitive person, I'm a feeler, I'm a core, it just started to kind of lighten the load. It started to like I started to make sense. I started to be able to work with my tendency to feel things deeply. And I think the interesting thing looking back is that before I would apologize for being too fill in the blank. And I think
Mhm.
care is something that I learned as a mom. And at the same time as get older and I'm learning myself as well, I'm learning not to apologize in the same way for just
Yeah.
things that are how I'm made, that I'm a feeler. And so that's interesting to see how, my girl are older now in our conversations. I try to own the behavior, but not apologize for feeling deeply.
Yeah,
No.
I love that. That's such a
Mhm.
great insight because, all 9 types can feel they're to fill in the blank, um, and their kids can say it too, right? Because like, your kids are most likely gonna not be your type, and even if they are the same type, that actually can sometimes exacerbate things even more. And so our kids will push back and we can heap on shame or guilt. But I love what you said. Yes, there's the behaviors, if they're not healthy, that we can own and apologize for, but we don't have to apologize for who we've been created to be, as in being a sensitive person or a type 8 who's a direct person, like, but how we're direct, in a healthy way is amazing, or how we're emotional in a healthy way is amazing. But it's when it gets derailed. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, Elizabeth, you're in the throes of toddler, well, a little bit older than toddler years. You're in the preschool, kindergartenish years. So tell us what it's been like for you as a type 4 mom.
Yeah, definitely feel very fresh out of the toddler year. Mostly, but, yeah, it's been really interesting because I think I might be the only mom here that has known I was an Enneagram for the entire time I was a mom, because I learned about the Enneagram before I became a mom, and that has been really interesting to, notice how things are impacting me. There's not a ton of confusion. There's just more like, "Oh, of course, this is going on," or "Oh, they dress their baby the same as mine. I don't like that. Oh, of course, that's bothering me." Um, kind of things, but I notice a lot, especially the newborn days flipping into 2 a lot, because
Mm.
you're surviving so much, and, I would lay awake at night and cry about this one friend who hadn't contacted me in, like, 2 years, that I hadn't thought of in forever. But all of a sudden, it was like all my relationships were bleeding wounds, and they bothered me a lot, and, like, I couldn't stop thinking about them or ruminating about them, and, all the expectations of how people were gonna show up and support me when I had a baby, all of a sudden, none of that coming true, and, like, just so much
Mm.
angst around that time, and then, of course, you add sleep deprivation onto it, and it's just kind of a mess.
Wow.
And so that was so good to know, though. Like, when I would be thinking about this friend, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is a red flag of, like, I'm in stress. I am over fixating on relational love because when I always think when fours are stressed, they need love, and we settle for cheap affirmation and, trying to fix relationships as a coping mechanism going to 2. And so I was like, "Oh, I just need people to come alongside me and be like, 'You are doing such a good job. You're so loved. You're still you.' Like, you might feel like a cow at the moment with your only job
Right.
being to give this baby milk, but you're still you," and, that kind of stuff. It was so good to be able to notice that and be like, "Hey, husband, this is what I think is going on with me right now, and this is what I think would really help," and yeah, that was,
Mm.
really, really big, and then going into the toddler years, I think it's so funny because 'cause I've heard both of you guys talk about, like, not taking things personally, and I feel like that in the toddler preschool years. Like, my son started lying recently, and I take it
Mm.
so personally when he lies to me. Like, I have such a hard time. I'm like, "Am I not a good mom? Do you not trust me? Do you not think that I would handle the truth?" Like, it's all of a sudden all about me, and then I have to, like, step back and be like, "Oh, this is so normal." Like, this is so
Mm.
normal for,
Right.
not to wanna get into trouble and to lie about it. And so having to, like, yeah, take a step back and be like, "It's not about me." Like, none of this is about me as a mom specifically and what I'm doing. There's so many developmental things with little kids that are just gonna happen. And that's been really helpful. I also have noticed in, like, the toddler getting to be kid years, that as a baby, it was really easy for me to make my kids an extension of my aesthetic. Um, and it starts with their name and then, goes to, like, how you're dressing them and how you present them and all the stuff, and then as they get a little older, there's not as much of that control, and I knew that. I knew that when I was planning their birthday parties when they were little, I'm like, these are the years I get to do this and have it be what I want it to be. But my daughter, who is turning 4, she has a very, very strong personality. Me and my husband just call her our aggressive stance child because I'm pretty sure that's where she is. But
Yeah.
just very, very assertive. And her style is all her own. And I don't love it. But I'm like, I always wanted my mom to let me pick what I was going to dress. And if this is what this is, okay. But
Yeah.
it's hard. I have to separate myself from it because I think there is a part of me that wants to make my child my own emotional aesthetic extension. And I think a lot of
Mhm.
that separating starts even now.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, Andy and Andrea, you could attest to how it even gets a little bit more complicated as they get into the preteen, teenage years and then their own adult years, and it's like, all bets are off, like, they are their own person, not that extension of who you are, your aesthetics, your emotional depth, and all that stuff, and I could see how that could be really hard. One question I do have, though, being a type 9, I can't remember, I don't know, Elizabeth, if it was you or if it was just someone I was talking to as a type 4 mom, or maybe I just read it. It was like, what would be one of the worst things as a type 4 mom? And I think one of them was, if my kid just wanted to be ordinary, and just kind of blend in with everyone else. And I was like, okay, that's me. I mean, look at me. I just wear like a black shirt. Like, this is what I wear like every day. I have like 4 colors of these. And it's like, I just don't even wanna think about it, just make it super simple and easy, just kinda go with the flow. So I'm just curious, like, what is it like for you fours as moms who really are one of the greatest gifts that you give your kids is that you do want them to find their authentic self, to be them, to let them shine for who they are. But if they're not that kind of person, what is that like for you guys? Or is that a fear you've ever had? I'm just kinda curious.
Mm,
Whoever wants to go, go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it was ever a fear. Sorry.
Well, go ahead, Andrea.
But I'm laughing thinking about the teenage battle of the clothes my daughter wanted to wear because she wanted only solid shirts. And I was like, "They're so boring." But we'd be out shopping and I'd say, "But look at this one, look at this one." She'd be like, "Yeah, it's fine. I don't want it. I won't wear that."
Now what type is she?
9.
It's so true. Now those that are listening, it's not that all nines just wear solid shirts, but
Right.
I I don't wanna stand out, like, I not
Yeah,
at
want
all,
to
like,
blend.
not even
Yeah,
remotely.
there was a particular pair of pants that I loved, and they looked so good on her, and so she let me, which was rare, convince her, but I was buying, so I bought them. I made her wear them once because then I knew that she would see how fabulous they were. She never
Right.
wore them again, and she was
Yeah.
kind of like she's also an 8 wing, not a 1.
Yep, me too.
So,
Mhm.
she was like, "I told you I wouldn't wear them. I told you I don't like them.
Yeah.
They're cute, but
Well,
nobody else wears them." They
and
were like
now
trendsetters, and I liked that, and she didn't like that. They were
exactly,
different.
yeah.
Mhm.
And what's interesting about nines, we don't know what we want. So a lot of times we will go along with things that we're like, well, I don't know, maybe, yeah, sure, sounds good. But if we know we don't like something, we are
Yeah.
the most stubborn on the Enneagram, and we are
Mm.
not gonna do
Yes.
it, which I'm sure you've
Yep,
experienced.
very
And do you
true.
have a type 9?
My husband's a type 9,
Mm.
and he's
Okay.
very simple. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he likes what he likes, which is simple. Yeah.
simple, right, yeah. Not gonna stand out. And is that hard for you, whether as a wife, but also I'm sure it affects how you all parent too?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the aesthetic, this is such an interesting question because I'm a creative, and at the same time, I've come to a point in my life where I just want simple as well. So,
Mm.
kind of, I have a daily uniform, so I'll like pick nowadays. I'll have because I don't want to decide, kind of to what you're saying. I don't want to decide, but there's other ways aesthetically in the house.
Mm.
I have a farmhouse. I call it granny chic style. I like old
Uh-huh.
things that are chippy And my kids are like, we just want to buy something modern and new, right? It's like, it's cuter. And so they kind of know, my tendency like that. But as far as the kids, it's so interesting letting them be their own self. I had to do a lot of unlearning for that. I will say that for me, I had to wear all the outfits that were given to me. So for me, growing up, my kids growing up, I really wanted them to um, have their own thing. But there's other ways that I'm losing my thought. But yeah, I'm learning to let them grow in the other ways while still kind of like balancing as a mom who's shepherding their heart. Where do I
Yes.
lead them? And so for me, that's kind of where this conversation is being me too. Is like, I want you to be who you are. And also, these are the common things that I think will be beneficial to us. So it's kind of that shepherding, letting the leash
Yeah.
up, go a little bit, but then also kind of bringing it in. So
Mhm.
Well, and I bet it's and Elizabeth, you might be able to answer this, for your experience, but it's gotta be like this conundrum inside where you want them to be them, but then when it goes totally against, like, who you are or what you think is, like, the better way, how do you navigate that? Because like you were saying, like, your daughter is very assertive and she kinda knows what she wants. How are you navigating through that experience?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of checking what that's bringing up in me and having to untangle it from my kids having their own experience. I know when I was younger, I'm one of 5 kids, and we were definitely a group, like a grouping. Like, it was always my name was never said by itself by other people. It was always me and my brother or me and my other siblings, and it's no issue for me to see my kids as individuals. If anything, I
Mhm.
probably separate them too much and don't make them share like, it helps that they're a boy and a girl too. That's a lot of more
Yeah.
separation, I feel like. Um, but yeah, I can see that, like, when my daughter, like, started getting really into something that's, like, really, really popular, I think my first instinct is like, "No, no, no. No, I want, like, this other cute thing, this aesthetic thing, this thing." And it's because I don't want to be influenced, because to me,
Mm.
being influenced means you're not living in your authentic expression. So, my assumption is if anyone else is being influenced, specifically by something that's, like, super trendy or something that's popular, that then they are being influenced and are not doing something that's authentic to them.
Mm.
But that's not always true for other people, and
Yeah.
I, in fact, have probably missed out on a lot of things because I've automatically pushed back because it
Yeah.
was popular. Like, I was
Mhm.
super against the Jonas Brothers and Twilight and the Hunger Games when it came out because those are all my teenagers. Um, and I missed out on some stuff because I was super against those. And so, even in my head, like, I have nieces that are in the 11, 12 range, and their moms just bought them Stanley Cups, and it was like a dagger to my heart. Like, "You're letting them be influenced. Oh my god." And I'm like, "Okay," but, like, that's not, like, the fatal flaw. That's not an evil, like, that's not them not being authentic. I'm like, "At least they get to pick their own color." Um, but just just having to untangle that from, like, myself of, like, what would be being influenced to me doesn't necessarily mean being influenced to them. And
Mhm.
I've seen that with a bunch of 4s too, like, you would think that, like, 4s might be all against, like, Taylor Swift or something because she's super popular. There's so many 4s that are super into Taylor Swift. She has very, authentic and,
Yeah.
emotional lyrics. And I find that it all just kind of depends. Like, to me, I was raised really legalistic, and that radio dial did not turn off the Christian station, so when I found Taylor Swift, I was not being influenced into liking her music at all, and so
Right.
that feels very different to me. Whereas when I first saw Stanley Cups popping up, I was, like, very into this other water bottle, and I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not being influenced into buying a different one," and then that just feels different to me. So, all 4s
Yeah.
have very different expressions of that, but I think a lot of it when you're feeling that for your child is to, yeah, come back to why you feel that way and why that's probably not true for them as well.
Yeah. And, Andrea, like, for you with your daughter being a 9, I can just imagine how that could be really, uh, trying because you're probably like, "I really want you to be you and, like, express yourself and find yourself," and we're over there going, "We don't even know what you're talking about. We
Yep.
don't know how to get there. We don't like, what would you like us to be?" You
Oh,
know?
exactly, and I love, Elizabeth, how you said we need to kind of unentwine ourselves. I remember she throughout her years, she's just very wise, and she counsels me a lot when I didn't see it coming, and, oh, wow, yes, I needed to hear that. Thank you, child. Even from a little girl. But there was one day that I'm standing at the door of her bedroom and just feeling like we're not connecting. This is her teenage years, and I don't like this disconnect, and I said, "Why won't you open yourself to me? Why won't you share with me?" And she looked at me, she said, "Mom, I tell you everything." And I said, "But you don't tell me anything deep." And I didn't know about the Enneagram then. Oh, I wish I
Sure.
had. And she said, "I give you everything I have. I don't know what more you want, but
Mm,
I'm not you." Oh,
Mhm.
and right there, that's what I needed. I said, "Oh, you are right. You are not me. And I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was trying to make you be me. I was trying to have you deliver to me what I want to deliver to you. And I didn't realize that. And that's
yeah.
not who you are. And it's not wrong. And it's not bad. I wish I could say, oh my gosh, because you're a 9, you're not a 4. I'm a 4. That's why it's never deep enough."
Yeah, yeah,
And I
Yeah.
didn't realize she was trying so hard to give deeply to me.
yeah. Well, and I love the fact that you were able to pause and then just reorient yourself like, "Oh," and this is before you knew the Enneagram, like, "Oh, wait, I can see, what I'm doing," which is a great thing that I mean, you were doing a really good thing. You're wanting to have connection with your daughter, but just like, your son-in-law, it's like, just because we are giving of ourselves in a really wonderful way and we're hoping for the best, in other people, it doesn't mean it lands on them the right way, or it doesn't mean that they can do or give to us what we're actually looking for. And so I love the fact that you were able to see that and to kind of like release her and to say, yeah, you're right. So that's really, really beautiful. Okay, so I would love to hear from you guys. What have you seen in yourself as a type 4 mom that are your greatest strengths? Because God gave you your children, no matter if it's one child to 20, God has given us our children and He gave your children to you being a type 4 mom. What are some of the things that you can just go, you know what? I really passed down these really cool things and it was such a joy and a blessing to do that. Now, as a type 4, don't start going there. You got some amazing things, but I really want to hear like you just brag on yourself. Get into that 3 wing. Let's just go. So, who wants to go first? Don't everyone rush to it.
None of us. Well, I have 3 boys and 1 daughter, and lots of times people would say, "Well, good thing you didn't have 3 girls and 1 boy, that would have been so much more difficult." That was
Mm,
not the case in my house. I have the 9 daughter,
yeah.
and I
Mhm.
have 2, 3, 4 type sons. So we
Mhm.
have a whole lot of stuff being felt in our household.
Right.
Um, so they were much more emotional and challenging and playing off of my feeling and then their feeling. But all of them were told during their dating years, they're now age 23 to 33. Um, Over and over, girls would say, "You're not like other guys. Like, you know how to talk deep and listen."
Mhm.
And as they've gotten older, a lot of them, all 3 of them have said, "Thanks, mom, because you made us
Oh,
do
that's
that
great.
and we hated it at the time. But you always had to dig deep on, why did you do that? Or why are you feeling that? Let's talk through this." Because I
Mm.
needed that and I thought everyone needed that. And so I made them do it, but
Yeah.
it made them able to, and probably some of that they did need because they're in the heart as well.
Yeah. Right.
And
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the 2, they're not gonna necessarily wanna go there, they're gonna look at everyone else's and feel everyone else's feelings, and the 3 is like, "Oh, I gotta push my feelings aside." Now the 4, you probably kinda helped him understand how to gauge the emotions and have more of a help because 'cause you're that further down the road than he was, how to utilize those emotions and keep them more balanced, but so, yeah, I think it sounds amazing.
so I would say that my fourishness gave them a better emotional awareness than they might have had
Yeah,
otherwise.
that's awesome. Andy or Elizabeth, what about you guys?
Yeah, I feel like because of my like 4-ish page and some research I've done, I feel like I can probably talk about this even a little objectively, just watching all these other 4 moms and just seeing, seeing what we add to our kids. Because Andrea, that just gave me chills. Like, oh, that's so beautiful that like we can help them learn how to go deep. And yeah, it's so often that we feel like others are withholding from us because they're just, they're not living on that same plane as we are. But that's such a cool gift we can give our kids. But I do think the empathy is very easy for me. My husband is an Enneagram 1, and his sorries are expensive. That's what I always say. Like, he does not say sorry unless he extremely, extremely means it. I'm like, "You could just say, 'Sorry you had a bad day.'" And he's like, "Why? I didn't cause it." And so I feel like with my kids, I'm sorry all day long. Like, it's so easy for me to see the hurt feeling, see that I caused it, see that, and um but yeah, it's very easy for me to be contrite and say sorry and to see them as emotionally similar to me. Like, I'm not like this big above them in some ways. Like, our hurt feelings are all the same. And so I think that that's a really cool thing for a mom to have, specifically giving to her kids. Um, as well as I think 4s are just a really good memory makers because we are past oriented, so we know we're gonna live in those memories eventually. So
Oh, yeah.
we like things to be special, and we like things to be unique, and, sometimes that means, ritual and routine and, tradition, but sometimes that means new and exciting, and who knows
Mhm.
which one it's gonna be all the time, and so I tell my kids all the time, "We're going on an adventure." And it involves Target and Cake Pop and probably a thrift store, but it's gonna be an adventure. And things like that. I think boards are just, yeah, we're good at making everything a creative, adventure and making things special that are otherwise ordinary. And I think that that's a really cool gift for kids as well. Um, and then, yeah, I think I learn a lot about like attunement and emotional attunement with like parents and children. And I definitely think for being more having quite a higher EQ sometimes just because of all the emotions we have to process that we can't shove down
Right.
we it's easier, I think, for us to do that attunement with our kids sometimes of like, okay, what are you feeling? How could I make you feel safe? What are you needing right now? Obviously, more the healthy Enneagram 4s. I think unhealthy Enneagram 4s have no ability to do that. Their emotions are just so big and so loud, they can't do that. But if you are on
Yeah.
the health average to healthier spectrum of Enneagram 4 mom, I think it's yeah, it's easier to have that attunement just because you're so emotionally aware.
Yeah. Thank you. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, all of this is resonating with me. And I guess I'll give my, back to that, what's missing used to be such a thorn in my side. You know how Paul talks about the thorn in our side. I feel as a 4, being able to feel deeply and also kind of have that what else could be. So what's missing has become kind of this what's possible or what else
Um,
could there be. And it has really led me to, your Enneagram coach where God was like, oh, it could be possible here. But I think some areas that has really resonated was when I opted out of traditional school and I brought my kids home. And that 8 years ago was really weird, compared to today. So it was kind of this using my strength and instead of what's missing that I can't have, but what's missing and what can I listen to that God may have more for us. And just that practice of reframing and seeing that as possibility versus inadequacy or not having enough, the Lord has just used that as like kind of my filter for being able to see, okay, I could stay here more, stay here
yeah.
longer for wherever God has for me, or there might be something else. And so when I took my kids home, it changed our lives. Really, it changed the trajectory because it not only gave me the sense that I could trust something in me was telling me things could be a little different. Even though there was no mold, I could color outside the lines a little bit.
Mhm.
And just taking those steps to see that, what's possible was this very different thing. And the life that we created from having my kids at home, we got to do all sorts of amazing things. And my daughters, you know, I I call my almost 12-year-old, the inventor of possibilities. And so it's just unleashing in them this kind of like search and curiosity. And so I think wielding our strength that we can often, or when we are feeling weak, see them as weaknesses. and being able to really stand in there and ask the Lord, like, what could this look like? Is there more for me here? And
Yeah.
it's just brought us to many like curious, explorative paths that I don't think we would have explored if I didn't dare to just kind of stand in that
Mhm.
question.
Yeah. Man, I love all of that. And so many thoughts came to my mind. I was like, "Oh, I really wanna go here, and I wanna go here with this conversation." One thing I wanna, 'cause what I wanna do is then talk about where are the struggles, in being a type 4 mom. Like you guys were saying, like, when we're healthy, like, these are some really great qualities, but when we're less healthy, we're gonna have different tendencies, and it's 2 sides to the same coin, right? So, you're giving the greatest gifts that you have when you're healthy, but then they can turn onto the other side of the coin when we're not as healthy. But one thing that came to my mind, because I'm sure we'll get into kind of the emotions, and one thing I love when I'm working with type fours is to help them to realize is that Jesus was a very emotional person. So emotional that when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was sweating blood. Like he had lots of emotions and he knew exactly what was going to take place and what that meant. But he also did it with balance. He also did it with his father's will in front of him. And so you can be emotional and balanced in your emotions at the same time. And I think a lot of times other people are trying to edit their emotions or squash them or get them, to go away or not to be as big. And I think that Christ is such a good model for how you can be emotional and passionate, while also keeping your eye on what is right and what's good. Um, does that resonate with you guys?
Mhm.
Who's
Okay,
yeah.
just making sure. Okay, so that's the one side of the coin, right? So the emotions, the creativity, the uniqueness, the authenticity, the rawness of being a 4, but then there's the other side. So when you guys are less healthy, what have been some of your biggest struggles that you've seen?
I'll go. I think understanding my withdrawal and just that tendency, I have a strong my way to withdraw and kind of figure things out takes me away from my kids. I think naturally we want to. I could get into kind of trying to figure out what lies like my emotions and trying to figure them out. And for me, the growth point has been learning to say that's enough, fitting with the emotion, because I really do, yeah, I'm an IFS practitioner. I really do believe we can befriend our emotions. And I think as a 4, being able to sit with my sadness, sit with my suffering is pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, yeah. But I think it's been a strength of mine. And at the same time, the growth point has been that seeing us, that when to kind of turn and say, like, okay, I'm going to leave you with Jesus. I'm going to
Mm,
go be a mom because they need me right now. I don't have 5 hours to think about what happened. So for me, I think there's a richness in learning to be with it enough, experience it, but also know my cues and know ways that I can come back to the relational piece and back to my own body and back to be present with my kids.
mm. Wow, thank you, Andy.
Mhm.
Elizabeth or Andrea, what about you guys?
Yeah, I think mine is in a similar vein to what Andy said, but I have a really, really hard time with monotony and repetitive tasks that just have to be done again and again. And there's a lot of that in especially toddler years. There's so many snacks, so many. And
Oh my
like
god,
I would get to
yes.
the point where I'm like cutting up apples and I'm like angry because I'm cutting up apples. So, but that like, it's really hard for me to sometimes find purpose in all those monotonous tasks, and then it's even harder if I'm having a bad day or something's going on. Like, I remember when my grandma died, and I'm like, "I still am cutting up apples." Like, what? Like, the world doesn't get to stop for me
Mm,
and my emotions, because I'm a mom, and I think that that can feel really hard and really frustrating as a part of being a mom. And I think that yeah, your family can tell and can knows what's going on to a certain degree. And I think there's a lot to say there about people helping and giving you space, especially as a mom of little kids. But there also are times where you just have to do it and you just have to push through. And I think yeah, that's been a really hard part of being a 4. Like, I just don't feel like, I like 2s are such natural nurturers that they feel so much purpose in every aspect of nurturing. Usually, I don't
Right.
feel that. I don't feel that at all. And so that sometimes makes me feel like I'm failing at being a mom or I wasn't made for this, like people say things like that. And I think it's been helpful to have to reorient that and be like, no, like every type is a mom, you know? There's no
Yeah.
one type that's made to be a mom and the rest of us shouldn't be moms. Like God has made all of us to have very specific
Mhm.
strengths in our kids and having to remind myself that like even my own mom, I learned just as much from her weaknesses as I did from her strengths.
Yeah.
And neither one of those things impacts my love for her. None of them do.
Mhm.
And so having to sit there and be with that because, yeah, I think it's hard for us when you make mistakes or you don't feel up to being a mom to not beat yourself up about that you weren't made to be a mom or you're not a good mom or all those things. I have Forrest ask me a lot, like, are Forrest good moms? And I'm like, that's a complicated question. I think Forrest can be really, really good mom.
Mhm.
But are you going to always feel that? No, I can't
Yeah.
promise that you're always going to feel that because we won't.
Yeah,
And
and that's what I love about the Enneagram because, like, people will ask that kind of question. It could be all different topics, and it's like all 9 types can not feel like good moms. All 9 types can feel, whatever the topic is. Like, for me as a type 9 mom, if if people aren't happy, then I don't think I'm being a good mom, and guess how often that was? All the time.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Like, you wanna pull your hair out, like, "Can someone just be happy for
Mhm,
once?"
mhm,
So we all have our tendencies, our head trash, our negative
mm,
beliefs, stuff that swim in our mind that I love having you guys here because you have learned about yourself and you capture those thoughts and you take time to process them and move through them so that you can be on your healthiest side for in being a parent. Now, of course, it ebbs and flows. We have our good days and our not so good days, but the fact that you guys journey forward is what really our kids need. Because, like you said, Elizabeth, all of all parents make mistakes, but are we willing to acknowledge our mistakes, to learn from them, apologize, and grow through them? That's really what our kids not only desire from us, but they need to see and modeled after. Andrea, what about you? What's been hard?
It was super interesting to listen to you, Elizabeth, because I am one of those moms that like I was made for this. Like I've been waiting to be a mom since I was 3. And um, but with that came this huge heaviness of
Mm,
so it's interesting to hear you say I don't enjoy all the parts because I was one of those like I love it all. I love being pregnant. I love being a mom. I love doing the snacks. I love doing the cleaning. I love doing laundry. I love if it's a mom thing, I love it. And yet still feeling this exact same way that you just described of um I if I'm not enough, then
mm,
I have the shame. And so if I see a shortcoming or a failure or a poor decision or ultimately if my children don't choose to walk with Jesus, that's my
mm,
fault because I didn't do enough. I didn't model it right. My relationship with Christ wasn't one that looked attractive to them so that drew them in, or I didn't equip them right, or I didn't watch their friend group, who was influencing them, or I was too strict and I should have been more open. But whatever it was, I did it.
yeah,
I did it and it was my fault. And that
yeah.
was really, really, I couldn't get out from under this cloud when our oldest graduated from high school. And I just kept telling God because then he went to school, he went to college, and it was only 30 minutes
Mhm,
away, but it's a different universe. He's gone.
mhm,
And it was not a Christian school, it was a state school, and I was a wreck. And I just kept telling God, I'm not done yet. I didn't do the job well enough yet. He's not where he needs to be
mm,
for me to breathe okay that I did the job, that I did it. So I clearly wasn't enough because you gave me him on purpose. I feel that responsibility so, so much to get it right because he chose me to be this person's mother, thinking I could do it. And then I know this is illogical. Like God got it wrong. No, God didn't get it wrong. I was supposed to be his mom. And just having to really battle that, give it to God. Very wonderful mom ahead of me that said once when I asked her, how do you do this? Like, how do you handle this pressure of I there's no room for error because if I don't do it right, they're gonna pay. and it was
Yeah.
on me. And she said, "That's why I pray a lot, because I'm gonna have a lot of holes, and only God can see the holes and fill the holes. I can't."
Mhm.
And but that was still a battle for me to say, "Yes, but holes are not allowed, 'cause
Right.
then I wasn't enough, and
Yeah.
then I'm shamed." Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I've often joked that's why God gave me 4, because he knew it would take me a while to get a handle on that. So I was easier and more joyful by the 4th one and more trusting because I had listened a little bit better to, like,
Mm.
I gave him to you to manage, he's actually mine. And
Mm.
so I'm not about to let him just fall through the cracks. If you mess up, because I knew that you would, I already
Yeah.
had it covered. It's okay. So that
Mhm.
for sure was for me the challenge in it, the responsibility and the heaviness, which yeah,
Mhm.
all makes sense to me now why I felt that. But Andy, I also resonated with what you said. Like, why aren't other mothers taking this so seriously? Why do they act like this is just one big party? There's so much to think about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because 'cause you're feeling so deeply for your
Yes.
kid.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm.
And
Yes.
you could kind of go by what you're saying, the matching up my feeling with reality. Like I often struggle with as a 4 not feeling authentic if I'm not there yet, whether
Mm,
it's a family vacation and I'm not excited enough. And
mhm.
Mm.
there's the shame of, oh, I'm going to ruin it and this stuff, or it's time to do this event. I'm not in the right, I need more time. And so I'm learning kind of that balance of what does help me recharge and prepare, and how can I get to a place again where it's enough. And Mary Poppins
Mm.
says, enough is as good as a feast. My kids hate that, but I say it all the time. But I think it's for me because, like you're saying, like I could just have enough just as I am, even if I'm not feeling like I'm where I want to be. And I think there's a beauty in being a 4 and being able to feel so deeply and wanting to show up to life so authentically.
Mhm.
And then there's the human part where most of the time, I'm not going to feel ready enough to be on this podcast or feel ready enough to have my kids off here or there. And so it's learning, Lord, come to me, be with me in this discomfort. It doesn't mean that I'm not showing up authentically.
Mhm.
It just
Mhm.
means that other people get to have their own thing. And
Yeah.
they can feel just as ready. My kids will be ready for something, and I'm like, "Hold on, I need more time to prepare for that." Just
Yeah.
let us do it. So I think
Yeah.
the dynamic of family have given me the opportunity to let people be them and let
Mm.
me be me.
Mhm. Yes, agreed.
So
Mm,
I wanna piggyback on that because that really touches a lot on self-care, and as I've been interviewing all the different types of moms, self-care looks very different or what's needed, right? Now, they might like the same types of self-care, it's not like, y'all do completely different self-care, some do the same, but it's why. And why we don't do self-care is different for each of the types. So, can you because there's gonna be some moms out there that are type 4s and they're not taking good care of themselves and they're struggling. Where have you seen that you've needed good self-care, maybe where you didn't give it to yourself or you've learned to give it to yourself? What has that whole arena been like? How can you let other type 4 moms know what, like, hacks or insights or, "Hey, I understand, I'm right there with you." So, what would you say to those moms?
I think
mm,
for me, energetically, because I feel so deeply and I want to show up as me, it's more physically draining. And I don't always give as much weight to what it takes to be so present with my
Oh,
children and to be attuning to them, even bedtime. I'm so tired at the end of the night, but it's the time where it's our connection time. It's our special time. And so for me, it's understanding, okay, this is going to take a little more for me. It may not take as much from my 9 husband. It might not take as much from another type of mom. But for me, I know that if I want to show up the way I want to show up, it's going to take a little more. So building in transition time, building in wind down time, even being able to say like, I turn down the lights at nighttime. I kind of like ease us into bedtime. Not everybody likes that, but for me, I need to do what I need to do. And so
yes.
for me, as my kids are getting older, it's been a little easier to let them have their own routines, and then I can have my own routine. But I think just trying a lot of things has helped me figure out what I like and what I don't like. And at the same time, it's like, um, nothing is wrong if I need a little solitude. And I think for me as a newer mom, if I was away from my kids, I felt like I wasn't being enough for them. And so it
Mm,
was really hard for me. And that had lots of implications from other places. But I think for me to know that I do recharge by being by myself,
yeah.
I need some time to wind down and nothing is wrong with me. I'm not withdrawing to push people away, but I'm withdrawing to recharge myself
Yeah.
and
That's
being able to communicate that. Because I
yes.
think when you disappear as a mom, they're like, "Where are you? Why aren't you?" You know, but being
Yeah.
able to find words to communicate to the people around me what I do need, and that's okay that I need a timeout or need
Yeah.
time in between.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Elizabeth or Andrea, what about you guys?
Yeah, I was thinking about how I think it's Kendra Adachi, the lazy genius, that talks about things that make you feel like yourself. And obviously, that's going to be very, very different things for everyone. But I think that that's something that I've had to keep reminding myself when decisions feel hard, when I'm burned out, when I'm overstimulated, all those things. Going back to a list of things that make me feel like me is really
Mm,
helpful. Like, oh, put on that one playlist, make a cup of coffee,
mm,
go for a walk. Oh, go to nature, go to music, go to this, has been really helpful. And that way too, I don't have to decide, I don't have to make up my mind, I don't have to overanalyze, is this one thing, like, authentic to who I truly am, or am I just coasting in life? Uh, Especially when you're overstimulated. And so, that's been really helpful, but I think also having some sort of hobby that makes me sit down is also
mm,
very helpful. Because I think especially when I have kid free time, I tend to, like, buzz around, like, trying to be as, like, productive as possible. I think that that helps me feel like I did something with my day. But I've just over the past, like, 2 or 3 years, I've taken up reading a lot of fiction, and that makes me sit down. And so I have, like, a good, like, half an hour at the end of the night where I read, and I think that that's really helpful just to, like, calm my body down and let my mind play for a while, um,
mm,
to, like, help myself get to a place of being able to actually rest.
that's great. Andrea, what about you?
Oh, almost exactly. Kind of a combination of what they both said, but very much like Elizabeth. I also homeschooled for 12 years. And so, yeah, 4 kids all day long, all the time. And by the end of it, I'm done. I'm tapped out. And when we first got
Mhm.
married, we had a rule, early marriage rule. Nobody goes to bed without the other because we're going to do everything together. And then once I had kids, I would say, "I'm sorry. I cannot have my day start again. I cannot go to bed yet. I need 2 hours that no one says that,
Mhm.
Mom. And I'm sorry, honey, but you included. I don't wanna do anything for you either. I need 2 hours to read by myself.
Mm,
I'm gonna drink tea, and I'm gonna light a candle, and I'm gonna read a book, and it's going to be silent, and no one's going to talk to me." And
mhm.
the flip side was then less sleep, but that was so worth it for me because I
Yeah.
couldn't bear the thought of I'm emotionally exhausted. Now I'm gonna
Mm,
close my eyes, open my eyes, and start over again, and I didn't refuel yet. So
yep.
that available time to me was late at night. So
Yeah.
I took that and cherished it and very much look forward to it. And that for
Yeah.
sure kept me afloat.
Well, I just really appreciate you guys just sharing what it's been like to be a mom. Like I said, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Being a mom is just really hard. It's just
Yeah.
hard.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful, right? It's like everything. Um, but I think for me and those that are listening to be able to kind of journey with your motherhood experience has been really inspiring. I just love hearing from fours, and my hairdresser, which I'll see on Friday, she's a 4, and I love hearing how she mothers as a 4, and I was telling her about, like, what 4's, perspective is, as being a mom, and she was like, "Isn't everyone like that? Like, isn't that the best way to be a mom?" And I'm like, "I mean, it is a great way to be a mom." But I just love watching her and the inspiration to draw out her kids, not just their emotions, but their creativity, who God has made them, how they are gonna navigate the world instead of following everyone. How are they gonna do it? So I just want you guys to know that I really just appreciate you sharing and also just the great moms that you are, the different stages you are. And again, why don't you just let everyone know where they can find you really quick? So, Andy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Radix Life Design. I'm a certified coach. I'm an IFS practitioner. That's internal family systems. And I just love walking with women to help them come home to themselves and be truly rooted in who they are and discover that.
That's great. Elizabeth?
Yeah, so all of my links are at elizabethbennettenneagram.com. And if you spell my name correctly, you'll probably find me. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah,
So S and
with an
Elizabeth
S.
to Bennett, two N's, two D's. And then at enneagram.life is my big Instagram account. And then at fourish underscore, and I know it is my account for fours.
That's fun. Andrea?
And mine is Life Story Enneagram on Instagram. And then website is called Birth to Life Story, because I also have another whole thing that's being a doula and supporting women through that way. But
Oh,
my
fun.
life coaching is through your Enneagram coach, certified with Beth for Enneagram coaching. And that has been amazing. And so I'm in a full on transition, hopefully to do that full time, and really loving what I've been able to do. And I had envisioned primarily women, but it seems God keeps sending me to marriage.
That's
So
great.
that's who I've worked with, and it's been awesome. I've been
Love that.
years of a teacher, so I feel like coaching's what I've done for years and years as a mom and a teacher, and just didn't have that title. So
Mhm.
it's felt very natural and very wonderful to me. So
Mm.
yes, if you want to find me, you can go to Life Story Enneagram on Instagram.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. I'm just honored to have you guys here. So, all right. So, thank you everyone for being with us today, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I am so thankful for these incredible moms that we got to hear today. Being any type of mom is hard, but it was really great to hear from these three type 4 moms about their real experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. It was truly inspiring, and I know that you felt the same. Well, at Your Enneagram Coach, we are here to walk alongside you as you journey through parenthood and really just to become the healthiest version of yourself. Now, we hope that you'll order our new book that's coming out July 9th, Enneagram for Moms. And when you pre order the book, I've got exclusive bonuses made just for you. First, you're going to get a sneak peek into the book. You're going to get to read 2 chapters. Secondly, I've done a podcast only for those that pre order the book called Am I a Good Enough Mom? Our unique negative messages and what to do about them. Hey, we all have negative messages. All 9 types have them, but what do we do with them? And that's what that podcast is all about, to really help you on your journey of navigating around shame so that you can really speak affirmations and encouragement to yourself. And then we're going to give you a journal to help you navigate through the book as you learn more about yourself. Well, in next week's episode, we get to talk with 3 type 5 moms, and it is fascinating. I can't wait for you to hear from them and what it's like to be a type 5 mom when you get depleted really fast, and how to navigate around that, how to use your superpowers to be the most best and authentic mom for your kiddos, the kiddos that God gave you. So join me next time in talking with 3 type 5 moms. And again, pre-order that book at enneagramformoms.com. And I can't wait to journey with you. See you next week.